It's 1978. Hillbrow. P.W. Botha has been elected Prime Minister, and John Vorster, now State President.
What more democratic can you expect?
1978. Just 2 years after the Soweto uprisings. 170 children dead. Over 2,000 injured. Last year, 1977, Stephen Bantu Biko died in police custody.
Was the 20th man to die in police custody since the June riots last year. The announcement was greeted internationally with shock and anger.
Hunger strike, the police said. No, a scuffle. He hit his head. The Eastern Cape Attorney General will not pursue charges against Captain Daniel Siebert and Sergeant Gideon Nieuwoud. Oh, you've got mail. Call up papers. You're joining the army. The South African Defence Force is waiting for you. You're angry. Very angry. It's this anger and resistance that inspired Ivan Cady, Gary Khoza, Punka Khoza, and Paul Giroud to form National Wake, the country's first multiracial punk band, from their student commune in downtown Johannesburg, where they lived and made music in opposition to the apartheid government. The band described themselves in 3 simple words: fuck you, music. Johannesburg's underground punk scene in the 70s was inspired by the punk subculture that had first formed around the same time in England. Rooted in music, but also expressed through style and art, British punk was rebellion against the country's social and political conservatism that propped up working-class exploitation and rising inequality.
People are sick and fed up of this country, telling them what to do.
It was the British people that took punk and used it to give the youth a voice.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Like their British peers, South African youth in cities like Johannesburg formed their own small multiracial punk subcultures, rebelling against conservative Afrikaner nationalism that dictated both racial and socio-cultural norms. They lived together, supported anti-apartheid political movements, and created art and music that documented and protested this regime. Just 5 years later, in 1983, another rock band came onto the scene, Bright Blue, founded by Robin Leviton, Tom Fox, Ian Cohen, Dan Heymann, and Peter Cohen.
But when we got to Joburg, and certainly I think after Weeping, things changed quite dramatically for us. I mean, we felt ourselves in the struggle at that point. We kind of put ourselves, mainly as a soundtrack. I mean, you've got to understand that we weren't, we're not soldiers, we weren't out there on the front line. But I mean, we were the kind of the soundtrack, if you like, and we were hanging out in Rocky Streets and in Yeovil and in Hillbrow and in all the lekker cool places.
That's Ian Cohen.
We kind of felt that a part of the struggle emanated from there, but obviously not entirely. Just there were a lot of people very deeply involved in the struggle in that area because it was a safe place to be. And we knew them. We lost a lot of friends in the process. And we just carried on playing. We just played gig after gig after gig. We played a lot of rallies. We played a lot of sort of political gatherings. We played ECC gigs. In conscription, yeah. You know, what's interesting is that the people remember the music. They don't even. A lot of people don't know who Bright Blue is. They know what Weeping is. They can sing you Weeping, or if they hear it, but they don't know who we are.
He's talking about a song called Weeping that his bandmate Dan Heymann wrote in 1985 while conscripted in the South African Army.
It was middle of 85. As you know, I was stuck in the army. At that time, I was in Voortrekker Hoogte. I was there in the Vermakelijkheidsgroep, which is the entertainment group. And at lunchtime, I wasn't allowed to do music, actually, because I was trying to get out of there and get back to Cape Town. So I wasn't allowed to do any music. But at lunchtime, I could sneak into one of the music rehearsal rooms. I was a long way from home. I was miserable, depressed. I was stuck in this ridiculous army, and I played the saddest thing that I could think of, like a gospel piece, just music, no words, and that was what later became the verse of Weeping.
Despite the freedom South Africans enjoy today, Johannesburg's punk scene isn't done using music to protest injustice. That's Lefokolodi, an alternative punk band from Johannesburg. Its members, Lerato Sekonya, Shinesh Rambali, Yakin van Vuren, and Sydney Weyers, still embody much of the anti-establishment spirit of the early scene. On October 11th, 2025, they performed at an event called Music for Palestine. Spanning Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban, these shows saw 7 South African punk rock bands raise just shy of 26,000 Rand in proceeds, which were donated to the Gift of the Givers.
We wanted to firstly spread awareness about what's happening on that side of the world. And also, I know obviously sometimes people take a nihilistic approach to things like this that happen where it's we don't know what we can do, or is it really going to make a difference? So I think we also just kind of wanted to prove that, you can make a difference, even if your platform is not as big as bigger artists. You can make a difference. You can spread a message. You can even raise a decent amount of money for it. We have done in the past a couple of anti-GBV shows where the proceeds also went towards those causes. And Yakin also wants to focus on that stuff more. He wants to focus on mental health and stuff like that. So I think it also, because we're very involved in our community, we want to help people with the music and unify people. Our goal isn't to alienate people, it's more to educate them. Because, there's a lot of people who get negatively influenced by people. So we try to be the positive influence. So our goal isn't to alienate people. It's more to educate them on topics that they might not know about, or, because, sometimes there's a lot of censorship when it comes to things like that. People don't always see what's going on. So yeah, that would be my thing. And I mean, also the on the topic of like alienation, you know, a lot of people, I mean, I'm going to use like a more famous band example here. When, you know, like the Black Lives Matter thing was happening in America, a lot of people were surprised that Rage Against the Machine was political when, in fact, since like 1992, their lyrics have literally been some of those who work forces of the same burn crosses, but people just ignore that and just listen to the music.
Are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of.
So they didn't know that Rage Against the Machine was political.
The socially and politically conscious music still created by bands like Lefokolodi is proof that punk is far from dead. The history and legacy of bands like National Wake and Bright Blue are still alive in Johannesburg's thriving, but still underground, punk music scene. You've been listening to Inside Joburg's Punk Underground, an episode of the We Should Be Writing podcast. This podcast is a product of the Honours in Journalism and Media Studies program at the Wits Centre for Journalism in Johannesburg. This episode was produced, edited, and hosted by Mbali Khumalo. Our theme music was composed by Stoic, and our graphic design was by Anganati Jack and Ekta Sebron. Additional episode music credits and info are available in our show notes. On all social media, we are at Wits Vuvuzela, and you can see more of our work on witsvuvuzela.com.